Last night, I overheard my neighbors planning my murder, but my neighbors have been dead for years. The sentence loops in my head like a broken record. It sounds insane even to me. And yet, I can't deny what I heard. It started at exactly 2:13 a.m. I live alone in a crumbling apartment complex on the east side of town, the kind of place with flickering hallway lights, water stains on the ceiling, and neighbors who never look you in the eye. The rent is dirt cheap, which should have been my first red flag. When I moved in 6 months ago, I was told apartment 3B, directly across from mine, had been empty for years. The elderly couple who lived there died in a carbon monoxide leak, or so the landlord claimed. No one had moved in since. The door was sealed shut with a rusted chain, and a faint smell of mildew leaked into the hallway. But last night, I heard them. It began as a soft hum in the walls, the kind of low, vibrating noise you mistake for an old heater. I almost rolled over and ignored it, but then I caught words. Muffled. Urgent. When she's sleeping. The knife. Kitchen. Make it look like... accident. I froze. The voices were coming through the air vent above my bed. I pressed my ear to the grate, heart pounding. "Tomorrow night," a man's voice said. Gravelly. Wet, like his throat was full of phlegm. "She won't fight back. She's too small," a woman's voice replied. My skin crawled. They were talking about me. I didn't move. I barely breathed. The conversation went on for another minute before fading into silence. I waited an hour, staring at the vent, convinced I'd hear them again. But nothing. Just the low hum of the building. By morning, I was trying to convince myself it was a dream, sleep paralysis maybe. But when I left for work, something made my stomach turn. The sealed chain on apartment 3B was gone. The door stood slightly ajar, a dark slit of nothingness. I don't know why I did it, but I stepped closer. The hallway smelled wrong, wet dirt, like freshly turned soil. I could just make out the faint shape of furniture inside, shrouded in dust. My hand twitched toward the doorknob, but then I saw movement. A shadow slid across the wall inside, smooth and soundless. I backed away so fast I nearly tripped over my own feet. The door creaked slightly, as if something inside was pushing it shut. That night, I barely slept. I kept the lights on, my phone in hand, volume up. Midnight passed. 1 o'clock. At 2:13 a.m. exactly, the voices returned. "She's still awake. Lights are on," the woman said. "We wait, patience," the man replied. I shot out of bed and pressed my ear to the vent again. This time the voices were clearer, like they'd moved closer to my side of the wall. I could hear them breathing between sentences. Slow, deliberate. "She heard us last night." "Good. Fear makes it easier." Something slammed against the vent so hard I jumped back. It sounded like a fist, or worse, a head, hitting the metal grate from the other side. My phone clattered to the floor. When I picked it up, I noticed something I hadn't before. The vent screws were loose, like someone had been tampering with them. I didn't sleep after that. The next morning, I called my landlord. "Voices?" he repeated over the phone, his tone flat. "Yes," I said. "They're coming from 3B. I thought that place was empty." "It is empty," he cut in quickly. "Been empty for years." "Then how do you explain—" "Old pipes. This building carries sound weird. Nothing to worry about." Click. He hung up. Something about the way he said it chilled me more than the voices. By the third night, I'd made up my mind. I was going to record them. I set my phone on the bed, voice recorder on, and waited. My apartment was so silent I could hear my own heartbeat. 2:13 a.m. The voices began again. This time there was a third sound, scraping, like metal against wood. "She's listening," the woman said. "Good," the man replied. Then, louder, as if speaking directly into the vent. "We're coming through." My phone slipped from my sweaty hands. I scrambled backward until my back hit the wall. The vent rattled. The screws turned, slowly, one by one. I didn't stay to see what happened next. I bolted out the front door in my pajamas, ran down the hall, and out onto the street. The cold air hit me like a slap, and for a second, I thought I'd escaped. But then, from the window of apartment 3B, I saw two pale faces watching me, both smiling. The rest of that night is a blur. I stayed in a cheap motel 3 blocks away, lying on a thin mattress under buzzing fluorescent lights, replaying the image of those faces in the window. They weren't quite human. Their skin looked stretched too tightly over their skulls, their eyes too round, too still, and their smiles didn't move, not even when I blinked. By morning, I convinced myself to go back to my apartment. My rent was paid up, and all my belongings were still inside. I figured I'd pack a bag, call the police, and be done with the place. But when I reached my hallway, apartment 3B's door was sealed again. A brand new chain lock gleamed across it, like it had been installed that morning. My own door was open. Inside, nothing looked disturbed, at least not at first. The bed was made, dishes clean, clothes in place. But when I checked the vent above my bed, the screws were tightened, too tight. I had to stand on a chair to reach it. The metal was ice cold, and when I pressed my ear against it, there was no hum, no voices, just silence. But I felt something, a faint, rhythmic vibration, like breathing. I called the police anyway. The officer arrived 20 minutes later, a tired-looking man in his 50s who clearly thought I was wasting his time. "You're telling me dead people are talking through your vents?" he asked, pen hovering over his notepad. "I'm telling you someone was in that apartment last night. I saw them through the window." He glanced at the sealed door across the hall. "This one?" "Yes." He knocked 3 times, waited, then shrugged. "Nobody's home." I stared at him. "They're not answering because it's empty." He gave me a tight smile. "Ma'am, I've been here 10 years. Apartment 3B's been vacant since before I joined the force. That carbon monoxide leak? It killed the entire Thompson family. They never found the bodies." My skin prickled. "Never found them?" I repeated. "Gas company swears they must have been taken out by the coroner. Coroner swears they were already gone when he got here. Whole thing was a mess, and if you're smart, you'll drop it." And then, almost as an afterthought, he added, "People who go poking around 3B tend not to stick around long." I should have left then, but curiosity has always been my worst trait. That night, I did something stupid. I waited until 1 a.m., then quietly crossed the hall. The new chain was flimsy. I only had to push hard twice before it snapped. The door opened with a groan, and the smell hit me like a wall. Damp earth, rust, and something faintly sweet, like rotting fruit. I stepped inside. The apartment looked frozen in time. Dust-covered furniture, plates still on the table, the food long since shriveled into dark, unrecognizable lumps. Family photos on the walls, smiling faces of a man, woman, and teenage boy. I moved toward the bedroom, drawn by something I couldn't explain. That's when I noticed the floor. Every few feet, the carpet bulged upward, like something underneath was pushing against it. My chest tightened. I knelt down, pressed my hand against one of the bulges, and felt something hard. Bone hard. From the bedroom, a voice whispered through the air, "Back again, little neighbor?" I spun around. The man from the window was standing in the doorway, that same unnatural smile carved into his face. His skin was grayish, veins tracing like blue roots beneath. Behind him, the woman stepped out, her head tilted at an unnatural angle, eyes unblinking. They moved toward me in perfect sync, slow and deliberate, like puppets pulled by the same string. I backed away, my hands groping for the door, but then I heard it, the third voice. From the vent in their ceiling, something was crawling. The man stopped just short of me, his smile somehow widening. "You shouldn't have listened," he said. The woman's voice overlapped his perfectly. "Now we have to finish it." The bulges in the carpet began shifting toward me. Slowly at first, then faster, as if something underneath was swimming through the floor. I bolted out the door, slammed it shut behind me, and ran to my apartment. But when I turned the lock, the voices were already in my vent. I stood in my apartment, chest heaving, staring at the vent like it was the mouth of something alive. The whispering had already started again, low, hushed, and almost playful. "Closer. Don't run!" I grabbed my phone, fumbling for the police number, but the signal was dead. No bars. That's when I realized my apartment was colder than it had been a minute ago. Not just chilly, breath in the air cold. The whispering in the vent grew clearer, overlapping into a chorus. Dozens of voices now, men, women, children, all speaking at once. "Hungry. Join us. Just like the Thompsons." My stomach dropped. I backed into the hallway, but it was worse out there. The lights were out. The entire corridor was drenched in a thick, unnatural darkness that seemed to eat the weak glow from my phone's flashlight. Across the hall, 3B's door stood open again. Wide open. Inside, the air shimmered like heat over asphalt, and the shadows seemed to breathe. A figure stepped out, the man from the window. His smile was gone now, but his eyes, those round, unblinking eyes, locked on me. "You heard us," he said in that gravelly, wet voice. "Once you hear us, you belong to us." I stumbled backward toward the stairwell, but the carpet beneath my feet bulged and split open. Gray, skeletal hands shot up, grabbing my ankles. The floor was full of them, arms, skulls, twisted shapes dragging themselves toward me from beneath the fabric like the carpet was just skin. I screamed and kicked free, running for the stairs. But when I reached the bottom, the exit door was gone. In its place was a wall. And in that wall, vents. Dozens of them. Every vent began to rattle at once, the screws turning one by one. I realized with sickening clarity that the voices weren't just in my vent. They were in every vent in the building. Behind me, something heavy dragged across the hallway floor. I turned, expecting the man and woman, but instead, I saw it. The thing that had been crawling through their ceiling. It was enormous, pale, and impossibly thin. Like a human stretched to 3 times normal length, its limbs jointed wrong, its head bent completely backward. Its mouth gaped wider than its skull should allow, and inside were teeth. Too many. It slithered down the hallway toward me, its long fingers curling against the floor with a sound like nails on a chalkboard. When it spoke, all the other voices stopped. "You're ours now!" I ran. I don't remember choosing a direction. I just bolted, tearing through hallways that seemed to twist and stretch longer than they should. Every turn brought me past another open door, another room bulging with movement under the carpet, another vent whispering my name. Somewhere in the chaos, I kicked open a door and stumbled into the basement. The smell hit first, damp earth and rot. My phone light flickered, and for a split second, I saw the truth. The missing Thompsons weren't gone. They were in the walls. Bodies, dozens of them, packed into the insulation like a grotesque honeycomb. Mouths sewn shut with black thread, skin paper thin. Some still twitched when my light hit them, as if they were trying to move but couldn't. The whispering returned, louder than ever, coming from inside their sealed mouths. I backed away, gagging. My foot caught on something metallic, a vent cover, loose. From the darkness inside, pale fingers reached out. I don't remember the rest clearly, just a blur of movement, cold air, and those hands grabbing me. I woke up in my own bed, the morning sunlight streaming through the blinds, like nothing had happened. Except the screws on my vent are gone. The grate is wide open. And last night, at 2:13 a.m., I heard my own voice whisper, "She's ready now."